Over on Let's Talk Philippines, we share the stories. The men who went to the Philippines with savings, with pensions, with the proceeds of houses sold back at home, with redundancy packages, with everything they had managed to accumulate over 30 or 40 years of a working life. The men who landed in Manila or Cebu or Angeles City met a woman who they believed looked at them in a way no woman had ever looked at them at home, and built what they thought was a life. And then, years later, watched it all disappear. The men who left the Philippines broke, the men who could not afford to leave, the men who are still there now in 2026 watching their bank balance trend towards zero, while the woman they married continues in the way she always has, putting her family first. The pattern repeats so often that my contact on the ground has stopped being surprised by it. He's watched it happen to men he knew personally. He's watched it happen to men who told him in advance they were going to be careful. He's watched it happen to men who insisted they had read all the warnings and were different. And he's watched it happen to men who, by every measure, should have known better. The pattern does not discriminate by age, by background, by intelligence, or by experience. It discriminates by one thing only: whether the man understood, going in, what the architecture around the Filipina actually was, and almost none of them did. This video is about that architecture, the reasons the trap works the way it does, the illusions the foreign man walks in with, the things he learns too late, and the structural reality of being a Western foreigner married into the Philippines in 2026. It starts in a bar in Angeles City or Cebu or in Makati or on a Manila dating app. He meets a woman. She's younger than him. She's beautiful. She's attentive in a way the women back home never have been for as long as he could remember. She listens to him. She laughs at his jokes. She asks him about his life. She seems, in a way that is hard to articulate, but unmistakable when you experience it, to look up to him, to value his existence, to respect him. He's not felt this in years, maybe decades, maybe ever. And it is at that moment that the illusion forms. Because what he is experiencing is something the Western man does not have a cultural framework to interpret correctly. He thinks he's being seen for who he is. He thinks she's recognized something in him that the women back home failed to recognize. He thinks, in a way he would never say out loud, that he has finally found the woman who will never do anything bad to him. The woman who will value him so completely that her loyalty becomes lifelong. The woman who, because of how she looks at him now, will align her dreams and her decisions and her future with his, regardless of what those dreams turn out to be. This is what I've heard over many years in Thailand, something called the Savior Complex. The first time I heard the term, I didn't understand the depth of it. The Savior Complex is the Western man, often down on his luck back home, often divorced, often passed over for promotion, often invisible at his local pub, who comes to Southeast Asia and finds a beautiful woman in genuine economic distress. He believes that by lifting her out of that distress, he creates a lifelong bond, a debt of gratitude that can never be repaid, a loyalty that will outlast everything else. He believes he's becoming her hero, and he believes that being her hero buys him something the Western dating market never offered him at the price he could afford to pay. He is wrong. Not because the woman is dishonest, not because she has plotted against him. He's wrong because the framework he is operating inside is not the framework she is operating inside. He thinks the rescue creates the debt. In her culture, the rescue does not create the debt. The family already had the debt, and now he has joined the family that owns it. Here is what the Western foreigner does not understand on the first night, the first month, the first year. He is not marrying a woman. He is marrying a country, and in the Philippines, more than almost any other country he could have chosen, marrying a woman means marrying a family. The Philippines has approximately 1.96 million overseas Filipino workers. The remittances they send home total approximately $38 billion annually. That is 8.5% of the entire Philippine GDP. The country runs on remittances, not as a side income for some families, as the foundational economic structure for most families. Every Filipina the Western foreigner meets has, somewhere in her family tree, an aunt in Hong Kong, a brother in Dubai, a cousin in Italy, a sister in Canada. The family is not an emotional bond in the Filipino sense. The family is an economic unit. When the Western foreigner marries a Filipina, he does not become her partner in her individual life. He becomes the highest earning member of the family unit. The unit reorganizes around him. The funerals he attends, the medical bills he covers, the school fees he pays, the cousin's business he funds, the brother's bail he posts, all of it is not a series of one-off favours she is asking him to do for her family. It is a role he has assumed by joining it. In the early years, when the money is there, he does not see this. He gives the wife it gratefully. The family is grateful. He feels like the saviour the original illusion told him he had become. He is in control of the giving, because the giving is from his abundance, and he chooses how much to give and when. He believes the wife would rather he did not have to give. He believes she is uncomfortable with her family's requests. He believes the money is an annoyance to her, a thing she puts up with for his sake. He is wrong on all of it. She is not uncomfortable. She is fulfilled. In the Filipino cultural framework, the duty to provide for parents, for siblings, for the wider family is not a burden. It is the core of who she is, the role she has spent her entire life learning to perform, the proof that she is a good daughter and a good Filipina and a good person. Every time he gives to her family, he is participating in something she values deeply, and every time she puts her family ahead of him in a decision, she is doing what her culture has trained her to do since she was a child. The pension stops stretching, the savings get tighter, the medical bill he was not expecting wipes out the buffer. The exchange rate moves against him. The peso inflation eats into what's left. The pattern that started slowly accelerates, and he, for the first time, has to start saying no. This is the moment the trap closes. Not because she becomes a different person, because she has always been the same person. He just could not see it while his checkbook was open. Now he can. The family obligation that he believed was negotiable, that he believed she would rather not have to honour, that he believed sat below him in her hierarchy of loyalties, is not negotiable. It never was. It was simply easier to honour while he was funding it. The first time he says no to a school fee, the first time he refuses to cover a medical bill for an in-law, the first time he asked her to push back against her family on his behalf, the answer arrives. And the answer is the answer the culture has always given. She does not push back against her family. She does not put him ahead of them. She does not align her dreams with his when his dreams conflict with theirs. The hierarchy was always family first. He just did not understand that he was not at the top of the family hierarchy. He was at the top of one column that had many other columns, and his column was the one that funded the whole thing. The whole thing itself was the wife's actual world. Every time he says no, the knife twists, because she is now experiencing something she has never experienced before. A man who was the source of family abundance is now refusing to provide. In her internal landscape, this is not a man being practical. This is a man failing in the role he assumed when he married her. The respect she gave him in those early years, the look that he interpreted as devotion, that respect was conditional on him performing the role he stepped into. The role of provider, not providing for her, provider for the family unit. And when he stops providing, the look changes. Not because she stopped loving him, she may still love him. Loving him and respecting him are not the same thing. The respect was tied to the role required money, the money has stopped, the respect goes. Now look at what he cannot do. He cannot own land. Article 7, Section 7 of the Philippine Constitution prohibits foreign ownership of land in the Philippines. The house he paid for is in her name, not his. The car he bought is registered to her or to her family. The savings he put into the joint account she has access to, and he sometimes does not. The bank account in his name has been progressively drained because the bills for the family came out of his name. Believing things going into her name are his is the single greatest mistake the foreign husband makes. He thinks the marriage means joint ownership. The Philippine legal system does not see it that way. There is a Supreme Court precedent, Muller versus Muller, in which a foreign husband paid for the construction of a family home on land titled to his Filipino wife. When the marriage ended, he sued to recover what he had paid. The court ruled against him. The court ruled that, because foreign ownership of land is constitutionally prohibited, his attempt to recover money he had voluntarily paid for property on her name amounted to attempting to indirectly do what the Constitution forbids. He got nothing. The president has stood. The foreign husband who pays for property in the Philippines is, in the eyes of the law, making a gift to his Filipino wife. There is no exception that the gift can be recovered. And he cannot divorce her, because divorce does not exist in the Philippines, the only Catholic majority country in the world without a divorce law. There is annulment, but annulment costs around 250,000 pesos and takes years and years and requires grounds that most foreign husbands do not meet. There is no walkaway option. He is married to her under Philippine law until one of them dies, and if he leaves the country, he is still married to her. And if she has the house and the car and the joint account and the children, she has everything that mattered when the marriage was working. He cannot work because his visa was conditional on his being able to support himself without working. He cannot apply for state assistance because the Philippines does not have state assistance to foreign residents or its own people. He cannot get the family to support him because the family has only ever known him as the provider, and they do not have the capacity to reverse the flow even if they wanted to. He cannot easily go home because the savings are gone and the plane ticket is the last thing on his list. He cannot stay legally because his visa requires financial proof he no longer has. And he cannot fight her in court because the court moves so slowly, because the lawyer he would need needs paying up front in pesos he does not have, because the wife's lawyer is often her cousin or a friend of the family, because the system is structurally biased toward the Filipino citizen against the foreign claimant, and because by the time he has worked all this out, he is so broke that the cost-benefit calculation of a legal fight is irrelevant. Very few men try to pursue things legally because they have already run out of money to do it. So he leaves, or he stays, and in both cases, she ends up with everything. The men I've talked to over on Let's Talk Philippines, the men my contact has watched go through his pattern over 13 years on the ground, are not stupid men. They are not bad men. They are not, in most cases, men who deserved what happened to them. They are men who walked into a country that they thought was one thing and found out too late that it was something entirely different. They thought they were marrying a woman. They were marrying a country. They thought the family was an extension of her. The family was her centre. They thought their generosity created loyalty. Their generosity created an expectation. They thought the savior complex would buy them devotion. The savior complex made them ATMs. They thought the money was the lever. The money was the entire relationship. They thought she would put them first. She never said she would. They assumed it. They thought when the money ran out that the relationship would be tested and the love would prove itself. The relationship did get tested. The love proved exactly what always was. This is not a video about Filipinas. The Filipinos are doing what their culture and their economy and their legal system have shaped them to do. This is a video about Western men walking blind into a structural trap and not realizing until everything is gone that the trap had been closed since the first night in the Angeles City Bar. The look across the table was real. The respect was real. The affection was real. The trap was also real. And the trap was the framework around the affection. And the trap is what destroys the man when the money he never knew was the foundation of all of it finally runs out. The Filipinos are not the trap, the country is the trap. And the men who do well in the Philippines, in the small number of cases where it works long term, are the men who understood the country before they fell for the woman. The men being destroyed by the thousands in 2026 are the men who fell for the women and then tried to learn the country. By the time you're trying to learn the country in that order, it's too late. You've already given everything you had, and the country, through her, has already taken it. Thanks for tuning in to today's Philippines Deep Dive, guys. I hope you appreciate it. We're going to enjoy bringing more of these to you. Didn't get that right out at the end. Anyway, cheers, catch you in the next one, and bye for now.